Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a post-match pint in association with Purity Ale. If you use the code #VillaView, you'll get 10% off all Purity's lovely goods, including the Villa keg and the Villa cans as well. Purity did send me some the other day. I'm yet to post on social media, but thank you very much, Purity. I'm sure I'll enjoy those at some point. Joined by Neil Dunworth to go over Aston Villa 0, Arsenal 1. It's been a few days since the game took place now. I went and drowned my sorrows on Saturday night in town after the game. Neil, it's one of them days where I was really, really excited. The sun was out. I was buzzing to go to Villa Park. Knew I was going out afterwards. I think it was the first lunchtime kickoff of the season, so it was all a bit new. Felt a bit new. First time we played Arsenal at home with fans there since I think 2015 as well. So it felt like felt like a big. Obviously, we spent some time in the Championship, Neil, as I'm sure you remember. Yeah. Felt like a big day, and then Villa just weren't very good. I don't give Arsenal credit. I thought they were probably playing in second or third gear, and I think if they'd really needed to, they could have shunted themselves through the gear and scored more. But they just thought, let's win this game 1-0. Let's not risk anything in the second half. Villa aren't really doing anything. We'll just win this 1-0. And yeah, just a bit flat. The whole day felt a bit flat in the end, actually, from kickoff. I'm really rambling on here, but the game was flat. I thought the crowd were flat. I mean, when you're really excited for a game, that's a bit disappointing.
I thought this is one of the first games in a long time that I couldn't really argue with anything Steven Gerrard said after the game. Usually there's a bit of media talk. There's a bit of, almost sanitizing of what happened. And, the lads did really great, they did good. But, he kind of really summed it up for me. Very, very poor in the first 45 minutes. That the team, we didn't get anything going. It tells you how little we got going that when on Villa TV, on the actual, Villa website, that when you look at the first half, there is nothing to show from the first half. I think there's one highlight and there's multitude of Arsenal highlights. We just never got into any attacking rhythm. The goal that they got, I thought was, it was coming, but at the same time,
it was.
I thought Emi Martinez was very, very unsighted for it. He had saved brilliantly from Ezri Konsa, from that touch from Ezri Konsa previously. That was a good foot behind him. How he got his hand down.
Underrated save. I thought that at the time.
Absolutely fantastic save.
It was an unbelievable save.
But we just couldn't get anything going in the first half. And it's very hard to get out of that reverse gear that we were in and then try and get something going. Yeah, in the second half, we had a couple of chances. Ashley Young clipped the ball in. Gabriel got to it before Watkins. Watkins has a deflected shot off the post. What else? Their Ings heads went over the bar. I can't remember.
Coutinho free kick at the end. Free kick. He was quiet.
Bertrand Traore has a header at the back post. Awful header, by the way. It's just not his forte, I don't think.
Unbelievable clearance. Unbelievable clearance.
But there was some okay parts, but as you said yourself, Arsenal were fantastic. Arsenal looked so good in the first half. And it's a thing, and I know we'll talk about it in a moment, Dan, because we spoke about it off air, that when we play against a team that just switches it quickly from left to right or right to left, we're very, very, very unsure about what to do. Our fullbacks are unsure. Unfortunately, I thought Douglas Luiz was good in open play. I thought he was, but his movement around from getting from one side of the field to the other, I'm not sure it was great. Jacob Ramsey, I don't think handled Saturday very, very well. Especially in the defensive point of view, he was a bit better going forward. Having Ramsey and Buendia on that side. I think it was Ramsey and Buendia were on that side for the majority of the game.
Yeah, Ramsey and McGinn kind of switched, which they've never really done before in central midfield, which I don't think particularly worked. I'm presuming there was a reason for it. I don't think they just did it for fun, but it didn't really work. It was just a bit off.
Yeah.
All round, wasn't it? The thing I noticed from probably minute one or the first time Villa got a goal kick, we're playing out from the back, which I don't remember noticing as much in any other game before, except for the Manchester City game this season. So we're playing out from the back, but Arsenal was just so good at keeping us there. We couldn't get it out. We looked panicked and flustered in possession. So we never really got forward. I think, the times in the game where we caused Arsenal the most trouble were when we did go slightly more direct, slightly long, but they're trying to play out from the back. Arsenal just pushed us so far deep. We just couldn't get out at all. And I think that was the start of the problems. Arsenal were very, very good pressing side, I thought. And also just their use of the ball. I thought our use of the ball was poor all day when we did have it. But I guess this is the difference between a mid-table Premier League side and a side that's pushing for top four. Much like West Ham. I've got no complaints at losing to Arsenal, really. But I just thought we didn't give a good account of ourselves at all, and that's disappointing.
Yeah, look, the difference, like Emile Smith-Rowe was absolutely, like everyone will talk about Bukayo Saka and how good he was. And he was fine. He was better than fine. He was really good. And his goal, he deserved his goal. Don't like his comments after the game to say that we targeted him and stuff like that. I didn't think he got much more of a kick in than anyone else in any other game I've seen. But I think Emile Smith-Rowe's movement in the middle of midfield is just excellent. You can see why we were willing to go out and spend tons of money on him in the summer. We missed out on him, which is absolutely fine. He's in with the England squad now. He's a diminutive player. He is, for me, like he looking at his movement and the way he just ghosts into position is just excellent. And it's a real handful for two centre halves who don't like to be dragged out of position. It's also a real handful when, Douglas Luiz, as I mentioned, he's not playing unbelievably badly or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, but he's just like he's playing in a role he's not used. His strengths aren't used to, or his strengths aren't being used as well as he can in that number 6 role. And when you've got someone like Emile Smith-Rowe just putting you left and right like that, it can be a torrid day for him. Now, I thought he was okay. I don't think it was his worst game that he's ever played. Don't get me wrong. I thought, like as I say, of the midfield three, I thought Ramsey was probably the most out of position throughout the whole game. But it just goes to show, and we've been talking about it since I'd say very much so since the very first day I was ever on Villa View. We're talking about the need for an essential defensive midfielder, and I think we like it's unfair on Douglas Luiz because I think he would be pushed into a number 8 position if he was playing in any other team. But at the moment, he's just taking a bullet for the rest of the guys that are there because there's no one else that can really play that position, unfortunately. I know people said Chambers, but for me, it just highlighted to me that Emile Smith-Rowe had a free run in and around that area in the field there, and it wasn't because Douglas Luiz is poor. It's just that Emile Smith-Rowe is that good, and it's unfair to ask him to do that job.
3 behind the striker,
yeah,
all very good footballers. The guard in there as well. The way he manipulates the ball, I thought he was top draw. He's one of them players. He's not blessed with any great speed. He almost looks effortless for him, but everything he did was quality. And that was pretty much the same for a lot of our Thomas Partey as well. We talk about defensive midfielders. As defensive midfielders go in the Premier League, he's ideal because he's robust. He can do a bit of everything. He also just looks after the ball. He keeps it simple, very much keeps it ticking over, but he looks after the ball. I was really impressed with Arsenal. As I say, I thought they were probably playing in second gear, but I thought they were really, really good. But I'm not really sure what the game plan was. It wasn't like we were taking the game to Arsenal. But it also wasn't like we were desperately trying to hit them on the break or go direct and utilise Watkins' pace, because when we did get the ball up to Watkins, I mean, his first touch left a lot to be desired for at certain times, but I get that he's very hard up there on his own. But he picked the ball up. There's no one anywhere near him. And I kind of felt like that whenever any Villa player was in a good position throughout the whole 90 minutes, which wasn't very often, by the way, there was never anyone else in sight. So just not any momentum was just gone. Villa, I feel we've had a few days like this season where we've kind of got the chance to counter-attack and it just requires a bit of quick football. We seem to be experts at slowing it down when we should be speeding it up. And we didn't create anything of note. And we couldn't get the little man Coutinho into the game at all. Partey possibly shackled him. We changed the team, actually, Neil. So Brendan obviously came in for Ings. What do you think of that looking back? Because I actually think we might have caught. It's easy with hindsight of me to say we've lost 1-0. I don't think that change really had any impact on the game. We possibly would have been better off having the 2 strikers and trying to occupy Arsenal a bit more.
When we started to go long, if we had the 2 strikers, when we found that we were getting joy going long with 25 minutes left in the game, half an hour left in the game, that would have been, it would have been, hindsight is 2020, as you say. But like if you couldn't get Coutinho on the ball, we also weren't able to really get Buendia on the ball either. So I suppose there is a problem.
They're both lost in there, weren't they? A little bit.
And that's the
which can happen as a number 10.
That's the difference between Arsenal and Villa, is that the 3 guys that Arsenal have behind their striker were, as you said, Odegaard. Okay, he's got a bit of height to him, but Emile Smith-Rowe is knee high to a grasshopper, and Saka is, he's always going to be out in the wing. They were able to get the ball to their diminutive player, number 10, as such,
because they're getting the ball quickly. That's the difference. Our attacking players, when they're getting the ball, it's slow because the way we were building up from the back just didn't work at all. I didn't think. And when our attacking players pick up the ball, they're surrounded because Arsenal are just there. They're already there because we've been so slow in the build-up. When Arsenal were coming forward and getting the ball to their creative players, like you say, they switch it. It's done quickly. It's almost done effortlessly. That's where we just didn't have anything like that, which is why we had such a turgid display and never really created anything of note.
And that's a good point, actually. And I'm sure there's people who have watched the game more times than I have since the weekend, but I can't remember really anybody not crossing the ball, but switching the play other than Tyrone Mings from a central position. And when I say switching the play, that's probably splitting hairs at that one because he was a bit more central and he was just picking what wing he was going to play the ball to. But it was really John McGinn. John McGinn's really the only person who will kind of switch the play. But the ball that he plays is very long and loopy, and the person who comes onto it has to take it down a small bit, has to be able to run onto it like Arsenal were. So it's not something that we actually have done that well under Steven Gerrard. And I'm open to correction. Someone might turn around and say we did it 15 times against Southampton and we won 4-0 or whatever. But that would just maybe go on to further prove the point that we're saying that we can't get the ball to Coutinho because we're playing very one-dimensionally in the first half. And then in games when we don't play one-dimensionally, because maybe we're given that small bit more time, we can actually get this creative flow going. So it's a really frustrating one, as you say, that nothing really went right for us, and we just couldn't change gears fast enough in the second half.
We talked about distances quite a lot since Gerrard's come in. I think something I've ever spoken about until Steven Gerrard became our manager. And I think we look a better team when everyone's kind of playing closer together. I think that's where we've worked best. I think after we had our bad run, the next few games, Brighton, completely forgotten who, Southampton, that the distances between the players were good. I almost felt as if the distances this weekend was almost a little bit too close. And then Watkins is miles away. Everything just felt off. Like I say, I find it really difficult to analyse this game with you because we just didn't do anything, but it just looked off from minute one. Everything we did looked off.
It was like, as you mentioned, Arsenal are probably one of the most impressive teams. Like, obviously you've got your Cities and your Liverpools or whatever. Like, they're great to watch. You can watch them play all day. Well, specifically Liverpool.
I looked at Arsenal and thought they're a better team than Chelsea.
Yes.
When I watched Villa play Chelsea, I thought this is a good team. They all know what they're doing. They all know their jobs.
I much preferred watching Arsenal than watching West Ham just batter us to death the week before. You know, and that's the difference, that we're a bit of a naive team. I think that's fair to say, and I think everybody can see that. Arsenal just had, like as you say, I think it really comes, the steeliness in Arsenal comes from Ben White. Ben White is a majestic player. I think he's fantastic. Great centre half.
He didn't even need to be steely. I said to you before we came on. Really, you know, he was great. Ben White at the back. I mean, for all we're saying that Villa didn't do anything, I did think Ben White was really impressive when we did come forward. But they didn't even got his kit dirty.
Yeah. But that's because of Thomas Partey. That's what I was getting at. Thomas Partey in front of him was really, really good again. You know, and he's really, really good. I just picked up a Birmingham twang there all of a sudden. I don't know what
happened. It definitely happens.
But he picked up. I thought he was really, really good, and just to see that platform is just great. It means that defenders can swan about back there and just pick up any through balls that come through, nullify any long ball effect that comes to a speedy striker or a striker that wants to play on the shoulders. Specifically, one in the tier that I would say Ollie Watkins is in. Yes, he's been called up to England, but he's not a Harry Kane. He's not Mo Salah. He's not a Sadio Mane at this moment. Maybe he turns into one in some stage. I don't know. But, you know, when he plays off the shoulder, he's going to need a couple of more touches. He's not an instinctual striker like those guys are. You know, so Ben White, once he's got somebody like a brick house like Thomas Partey in front of him, it must be really comforting for him when a team like Villa come and play and they can't get Coutinho on the ball. And are just resulting in putting balls long and seeing what happens.
Because it's frustrating because they've got Bert Leno in goal. He hasn't played all season. I was thinking, oh, great, Ramsdale's out. I know he made a mistake the other week against Liverpool. I thought, oh, Leno's in goal, hasn't played all season, might be a little bit nervous. But his gloves, he'll be able to use them next week. He won't have to worry about changing his gloves. It's just nothing to do. Like I say, just flat all round. Pretty much as soon that you made the crowd, the way we were playing made the crowd almost a little bit edgy as well. And the atmosphere at Villa Park was flat. And that's something that's happened too much this season as well. I think at the start of the season, we were all so delighted to be back. I'm not digging the fans out at all. You know, there's been some real poor performances this season, but everything just felt a little bit flat. And I don't want to see that from Villa under Steven Gerrard. I associate Villa with Steven Gerrard. A bit of intensity, a bit of drive. I mean, let's talk about the Mings tackle. Well, it wasn't even a tackle. The Mings pass that he got a yellow card for. I mean, I saw them dissecting that on Sky yesterday.
Dermot Gallagher.
I think it was. I mean, it's not even a foul, and we're talking about potential red cards. I could say it wasn't a foul from the whole end. I knew straight away what happened. He's lunged for the ball. Nowhere for his. It was literally after he's passed that ball. There was nowhere for his foot to go. And I've got to say, the ref was poor again. He wasn't the reason Villa lost.
Oh.
Just another referee just doesn't have control of the game, blowing up when Arsenal players are asking him to, booking people when Arsenal players are asking him to, not catching on to players going down and just taking the time wasting, which Arsenal got every right to do. They're winning 1-0, but it's just another weak referee as well. But yeah, that yellow card for Mings kind of summed up the day, really. I just thought it was farcical.
I agree. My dad watches football games and he's very unexpressive. So I'd say when he's watching games, but it's one of the first times I've seen, like, the most you get out of him is, for God's sake, if that's a foul, oh God, I don't know. Like, they're like, that's how he kind of little grumbled to himself about it. Whereas I was going apoplectic. I was like, what in the hell is going on here? That's never a foul. It just wasn't a foul. It really wasn't. If anything, Sacco was late. And, I don't know. I can't figure it out. Everybody said what they needed to say about it. And everybody is right, except for those who are saying it should be a yellow card or a red card, because it just wasn't even a foul. Just really, really wasn't. I can't get my head around it.
I'm going to be careful because I'm on Sky tomorrow morning at 7:30 if anyone wants to tune in for the early kickoff. But yeah, Dermot Gallagher on Sky, I just thought it was embarrassing. You're supposed to be like, you're refed at the highest level. And I get the games change a little bit, but come on. That just is never, ever a foul any day of the week. Like I said, I could see at the time, it wasn't a foul. I didn't need to see it back to know what had happened, and no, it wasn't a foul. But it's just there's another part. I know it's only a yellow card. It's another part of just a frustrating day. I don't even know what there is left to talk about now.
You can think of anything enlightenment. Like, it even blew up on Twitter about whether it was a red card or a yellow card. And you see these crazy takes, and why can't people just be objective and say, if I made that tackle, I would have been like a bull on the field asking why the hell I was getting a yellow card. Like, anybody, if you
fair play to Mings, he kept his cool actually.
He did, yeah, fair play to him. He actually did. But, you had people there saying that wasn't Mings tackling. That was Mings having a heavy touch, trying to pass the ball. And when he had a heavy touch, got frustrated and carried through. And it's just pure and utter madness. What people, what people are kind of trying to orchestrate in their own minds to justify that a player I don't support, he definitely deserved the yellow, or maybe even a red, just because he doesn't play for my team. It's just a waste of time. Just call it, like, realistically, like everybody sees it. You don't have to be contrarian on social media. You really don't. That's why a lot of people give out about it. But anyway, that's my little soapbox rant over, because it just wasn't even a foul. And if it starts happening in the Premier League, we might as well pack up.
Yeah, I mean, I find the game frustrating. I find it a frustrating one to talk about on air because I'm really struggling for talking points. But I can't remember if I brought this up in the last show that we did. I went to the Tyrone Mings evening and he talked about us being a mid-table side. It's not where we want to be, but it's where we are. We'll win some games, we lose some games. Unfortunately, that's what's happening, isn't it? I felt like we had a good run when Gerrard came in. Then we had a really, really bad run. Then we won 3 in a row. Now we've lost 2 in a row. We just are where we are, and I think it's probably going to be like that until the end of the season. Now we might go on and win the next couple, but then we'll probably lose 2 after that. I mean, we never draw.
Yeah.
Why can't we draw a game? I know obviously we've drawn 3, so people will say, well, obviously we can have drawn 3 times, but incredible record to have only drawn 3 times all season.
I brought this up, I think, on a podcast with Dolan previously. I think it was before the Brighton game. See how many games Brighton have drawn. Brighton have drawn 12 games. Southampton have drawn 11. Crystal Palace have drawn 13. And
they're mid-table sides.
And this is exactly it, but they're drawing games, and they're, I suppose, like the perception of them is that they're a lot more stable in mid-table, whereas we're in 9th place. We've won 11 games. What can I see there? Yeah, we've won 11 games.
Yeah, 11 games.
And we've only drawn 3. Whereas we're considered an up and down team. And I suppose that's the way it's going to be until we start turning those losses into draws. And if we start turning those losses into draws, we're in 9th position now. That's where that 11 wins is not a bad return for we've had a tumultuous season at the moment. Changing managers.
We've had 2 horror runs as well, like really bad runs.
Really bad runs, yeah. Of 5 game losses. We've changed managers. We had a very, very up and down preseason with COVID and everything else. Ollie Watkins then gets injured against Salernitania the game before the start of the season. just a lot of things have gone wrong this season. Not excusing it. I know we're in March. There's only 9 games left or whatever in the season. But, there is a lot of context to this season, and we've won 11 games. We're in ninth position. And as I say, if we turn 4 or 5 of those losses into draws, which I think we could have snuck a draw. It would have been against the run of play if we snuck a draw at the weekend, but we could have snuck a draw at the weekend because Arsenal didn't finish us off. How many times have we been in positions where we haven't finished teams off and they've snuck a draw against us, or they've snuck a win against us? Watford couldn't finish Watford off a goal. That kind of stuff. We don't have that luck on our side because we don't create enough chances, and because we're not as fluid in attack yet. Not as consistently fluid in attack yet. And hopefully a good off season. Maybe get Coutinho in, get him in on a full-time basis, maybe upgrade in the striker department, things like that. Try and upgrade in the central defensive midfielder department. And things might be a small bit better next season, because if we're kind of saying that this season is a bit flat as it is, and we've 11 games won and we're in ninth position, that's not exactly the worst place to be, considering that we finished 19th, we finished 11th, and then if we do get to ninth and top top of the table position, yes, we've spent a lot of money, but we do have that forward progression that the owners want. So maybe there's more of a silver lining than we actually know. And when we sit back and the dust is settled at the end of the season, we might be able to see it a small bit clearer. But at the moment, I'm like you, Dan. At the moment, we've got good days, we've got bad days, and we're inconsistent. And until we become some way consistent, and if that means drawing more games, well, then we probably won't be able to puff out our chest and say we deserve to be in lofty positions.
I gotta say, I think ninth feels like a little bit of a false position for me, actually. I think that feels higher than we should be after the season.
See, that's the thing. That's because we've lost or we've won, or we've lost or we've won. See, there's no draws in the middle to temper expectations.
Yeah, I think like ninth is, if we're ninth, that feels like a very weak middle of the Premier League, if I'm being honest. Because I just think we have had such a bitty season all around. I mean, about a sub, what do you think of the subs on Saturday? They didn't come on and didn't really have an impact again. I'm dying to see us be behind and change a game off the bench. That seems to be something that we haven't managed to do all season as well. And we've got this bigger squad this year, which makes it a bit more frustrating. The only game I can think of off the top of my head where subs have come on and had an impact is Man U at home. And generally, if we're behind and we bring on subs, ever really seem to change a game. A lot of people come up to me at the ground and say, what does Sanson have to do to get a chance? Personally, I'm not convinced he's the answer. I don't think him coming on would have particularly changed that game. I think our midfield's all very samey. To be fair, but if you ain't getting on in games when we're behind, probably isn't ever going to get on. I think my opinion is I don't think he's here next season. I think it's just not worked out at all. I think he'll trot off back to France and won't be someone that we really ever remember in 10, 20 years time as Villa fans. But you know what I'm saying about the bench? Yeah. We've got these options. Buendier's obviously been on the bench recently. He came on and actually Buendia and had an impact against West Ham, and we got a goal, but we still lost the game. So I don't really count that. But you know what I'm saying about just we've got these extra options. I want to see someone come on and really change a game. Everton at home, Bailey came on, didn't he, all those months ago and change it. But generally, if we make subs, it doesn't really ever change. If anything, sometimes we seem to get worse.
It's an interesting one, for sure. Like Bertrand Traore coming on, was he played in a 10? Was he played as a striker? Did we go? I'm not even fully sure what formation we were playing to finish the game. You bring him on in that 10 position, that's pretty alien for him. Maybe I could get on board if they had gone to 2 strikers with Coutinho behind him and Bertrand Traore was that other striker.
Yeah. I'd have just said bring Ings on before you bring Traore on and go back to what you were doing the 3 games in a row that you've won. Yeah. I mean, Bailey coming on the left-hand side, he looked electric for 1 minute and I didn't see him again. Just don't really want to be played. Don't really want to be playing left side. As far as I know, in Germany, that wasn't what he did. He was on the right-hand side, cutting in and whipping in crosses and scoring goals. And he had a very good season last year. Needs to get fit. Just hasn't been fit all season. I'm still really hoping that he's going to come good at some point because I know he's a sensational footballer. Do you know what I mean? We're kind of bringing on players and they're not really ever impacting the game. There was a comment flashed up a second ago about Carney. I half feel actually he can manipulate a football and look after a ball. And again, it's easy with hindsight for me to sit here and say it. We have not been better off changing Buendia for Carney. Maybe. I think Traore hasn't played all season. If you bring on 2 players, he can't possibly be match fit. He's not really going to have an impact on the game, is he?
I think you have to read between the lines with Carney. I think at this stage of the season, given the chances that we've given him, I think you kind of have to read between the lines with him at the moment. And
But he could turn around and say, "Well, I've had a few minutes here and there, but I've not had a start. I'm not getting the football I want." I kind of understand. I can see it from both sides actually. You know, if he's that highly rated and he is a good footballer, he isn't really getting any outstanding minutes, is he?
how many England under 21
He's not
caps
even
has he
under
got?
21s, is he?
No.
He's under. He's only 18, I
How
think.
many under 19
You
caps
know,
has he got? All this kind of stuff, you know. I just don't know. Look, as I say, if he stays at the club, fantastic. If he's as highly
but he ain't
rated
going to
as
stay.
business,
He isn't going to stay if he isn't coming on. That's what I'm
but
trying to say.
but he came on for what, maybe 6, 7 games in a row. He came on against Manchester City. You know, he came on in big games.
He did well.
Yeah.
Did well against Norwich. Obviously got his first Premier League assist that day. There was a period before around Christmas where he was coming on, and he was looking good. I've spoken to players that have trained with him, and they say he's the real deal. He's going to be a good player. Now, he's going to get better not coming on. I just think Traore can't be fit. He just can't be. And he didn't impact the game at all. Maybe Gerrard just wanted to get a couple of genuine wide players on rather than number 10 to try and change it up a little bit because we weren't getting any joy through the middle against Arsenal. But it did work. And like I say, it is easy for me to sit here with hindsight. But I do just think with the Carney contract situation, Villa might be proving a point not bringing him on at the moment. But then he ain't going to sign a contract if he ain't get any minutes.
But the funny thing is, like, you look at Tim signed a contract during the week. Tommy O'Reilly signed a contract during the week. Who else is signed? There's a couple of other kids this season.
I guess they haven't got the interest that Carney's probably got, I would guess.
I don't know. Maybe
I mean, I don't know much about the situation.
To Dortmund and learn from people out there. Maybe, I don't know. It's a funny one. I think if he was 19, I think if he was 20, and I'm splitting hairs at this one, I think, you know, when you're 18 years of age, and yes, you're highly thought of, and he's come on in games. I'm gonna call it like I see it with him too. I think he has no turn of pace, you know, and that to me is grand. You can get by in this league with that, all right, but I think it just gets shown. Sometimes when you're 18 years of age and you haven't got that kind of sniper's instinct of getting into, like Emile Smith-Rowe, getting into those positions. Biakasako can come in at 17, 18, 19 years of age, and his speed can get him out of a lot of positions. Whereas Carney needs to be absolutely pitch perfect when he comes in. Yes, he's got a long language style. And he builds up to speed, but he doesn't have that massive pace over 5-6 yards. And I think for me, that's probably something that kind of goes against him at getting a run early as an 18-year-old. But he's plenty good enough. Don't get me wrong, he's plenty good enough. I'm playing devil's advocate here because I just don't think he's going to sign.
Discussion. Well, it's not looking good. I think there's an element of, I've heard things about his agent asking for silly money, which I get. I don't, you know, the club aren't going to do that. And from that point of view, I don't blame them. But I think if he just felt like he was getting a bit more of a sniff, I think he's probably more inclined to sign a contract. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
We've still got 12 to 14, 16 months left to sort this out. But you don't want to be in this situation with a highly thought of talent. You don't want to be where we are with it at the moment, because no one's really winning with it, are they? We're not winning with it.
No.
And neither's he.
I suppose realistically, the club only stand to lose, because if he goes on out to Dortmund for free essentially and becomes another Jude Bellingham or whatever you want to say.
We'd get compensation, wouldn't we? I think if he was to leave.
Like, put it this way, he wouldn't get 22 million like Birmingham got for selling Jude Bellingham, but you know, you might get 5, 6. I don't know, whatever the tribunal sets. But that's a stagnant fee, I think, based on potential and things like that. I think there's actually a formula that you can use to work that out or get close enough to it, but I don't know what that is. But look, there are games coming up. Like he could just as easily start against Wolves.
Yeah, let's get the fixtures up,
start
because,
against,
you know,
like Norwich, Burnley. Where will we?
I'm saying it. He came on in those games. If I'm thinking, he definitely came on against Norwich. You know, the reverse fixtures. Chuck Wimek, I'm kind of sure he came on against Leicester as well, if my memory serves me correctly. You know, so they're the reverse games are the ones that he got football. So again, it's dangerous. Last time I did this and I looked at our fixtures and thought, they're all right. We won 1 in 8, so I don't really want to do that again. But I do look at those fixtures and think that's not a terrible run coming up. You know, there's games there where we can take something.
Like, yeah, absolutely. I think we could get something at the weekend. You know, we're so Jekyll and Hyde. I think we could take something at Wolves. There won't be any Jimenez after he got sent off, so their striking threats are down Raul Jimenez, which is great news for us. Now we got to break down our back line, which is actually brilliant. Got to get past that goalkeeper. It's very, very good. We got to stop somebody like Den Donker banging, or Neves banging one in from 35 yards out of nowhere. We got to stop all that. That's where Wolves really, really hurt you. Spurs are Spurs. Don't fancy getting much out of that. As you say, Harry Kane, Son are really linking up again together. Seem to be getting something. Matt Doherty has turned into bloody, I don't know.
Cafu.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody who's good at the right back position turns into Cafu.
Always Cafu.
He's turned into Alan Hutton. That's what he's turned into. But he's playing absolutely fantastic, which is, even as an Irish fan, is something that I never really saw happening at Spurs. I thought he might go out again. We could get something at Leicester. I'd expect us. I'm at Norwich. They better win.
Get working on set pieces against Leicester. Jeez, they are horrendous at defending set plays. Embarrassing. Come on, Aston, let's get some set pieces on the go for that game.
They better win on the 30th of April. I'm over for Norwich, and then you've got Burnley. Who I would expect them to probably beat a Burnley team who might not have much to play for other than pride. That's come that stage of the season. So
I'm sure they'll have hit form by the time we roll around. That's what usually happens now.
It does happen.
They'll have won 3 in a row, or just win the game before, just as we rock up to Turf. I haven't got to play them again at home in the game that's never going to be arranged.
Yeah, that's
God knows when. God knows when that's going to be. Absolutely.
And then Liverpool is
the Liverpool game
as well.
Is the Liverpool game gone in? Because that was one of our next games. Is that gone now because of the FA Cup? Yeah. Fantastic into the Villa free weekend, just what the doctor ordered. Right, then let's go now. Thanks to whoever made that Carney Chuck Wemeka comment, because it actually gave us something to talk about for 10 minutes. So thank you very much to whoever asked that. And thanks to everyone that tuned in as well. Thanks to Neil for joining me. Villa free weekend, as I say, so we'll be watching England. So there won't be much content on the Villa View coming up, but we will be back next week at some point. So watch out for that. We'll preview the Wolves game at some stage, I'm sure. Have a good what's left of your evening and a good what's left of your week, and have a great weekend as well. Up the Villa.